Hello everybody and welcome to Macro Talk. You didn't notice that tilt of the camera, did you? It is Tuesday and it's got a date attached to it, the 23rd of September I think. And tonight we're talking about macro video, an update for 2025. We'll get to that in just a minute. Do you want to see me in these strange kind of bluish colors where my lips are synced, or would you rather have me like this if I can press the right button? There you go. This is natural color, terrible audio. I think we'll stick with the other one. Yeah. I've spent all weekend trying to fix this. I can't fix it. I don't know what to do about it, so I kind of gave up. And I had a lot of work to do anyway. So a couple of announcements. Thursday's Macro Talk 2. I'm going to talk to you about how to take a break from macro photography and why it will make you a better macro photographer. We're going to get into some specifics. I've talked about this before, but on Thursday I'm going to actually tell you what you can do for a break that will make you a better photographer, depending on what it is you're struggling with. It's going to be really interesting. I think you'll like it. Saturday, we have a Zoom for those of you who are members of Patreon. It's going to be a lot of fun. Got all kinds of stuff to talk about on Saturday. That's immediately followed by a tangent that may be a little less exciting than you're used to, or more, depending on your point of view. For me, it will certainly be more exciting than I'm used to because I'll be doing it. We will be short one tangent on Saturday, but that doesn't faze us. We're going to go ahead. We're going to charge ahead. I've spent all week trying to get my head around parametric modeling, so we might talk about that a little bit. That will be disastrous, but maybe we will. We'll see. Now, several people have asked, why is Lester's Lester's video not ready to be watched yet? Well, that's on purpose. I wanted the folks at Patreon to have first access to it, and I'll be working on it tomorrow to get it out, hopefully by Thursday at the latest. I have just been rather busy and haven't had a chance to do the editing yet, but that will be out sometime this week. The competition is almost over. We have one more week before the action-themed competition is done with. You only have a week to go, so you better get on it. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So tonight we're going to talk about what's new in video, what's coming, what's going to change things for us, and I'm going to show a lot of video clips as we go along as examples of how I use it. And I'll be honest, what's the point of not being honest? There have been precious few minutes for me to go through all of my video content and pull out the pieces I was looking for. I have got so many different things that I use video for that, I know they're in there. They're in one of these drives, but some of the things I couldn't find, like footage of mesofauna, little tiny microscopic creatures in the soil. I've got lots of my microscope footage handy, but less field footage than I wanted to find. But don't worry, we're gonna look at a lot of stuff. And the goal of this evening's chat is to revitalize your interest in shooting some video in macro. I think it's a wonderful extension of what we do in our photography. It's a great break sometimes to focus more on that than on still photography, and it takes a different set of skills and a different muscle memory to do it. We're going to talk first, though, briefly about what's changed in 2025 as far as the equipment you need, new tech that's out there for editing and post-production, and several things like that, just to get you up to speed. If you haven't been doing video, you might not know this stuff. Most of us, because we're macro photographers, are probably shooting with DSLRs still or mirrorless cameras. It's unlikely that any of us are regularly using a dedicated video camera. Nice though that would be. I don't think that many of us have access to those. So I'm going to leave that out of the discussion, and we'll talk mostly about what we can do with the cameras we have. One of the things that's changed in the last year, and I think it's probably going to change back in the other direction, is that some of the camera cages and rigs, the stuff that Small Rig makes and other companies, seem to be getting more affordable and more feature filled as well. I was looking at all kinds of cage options for my Nikon, and they have an almost endless supply of attachments you can use for putting on lights and handles, monitors, all the stuff you need to really have a good rig for the field. You don't need any of that, and it used to be that I just couldn't afford any of that. Well, I still can't afford any of it, but it's cheaper than it was, and some of the cages are really, really sophisticated. So check out Small Rig and look at those. Lighting for video has changed as well. I think that the really compact chip-on-board LEDs are the more powerful ones now, have better color temperature. They have just better performance. They use up a lot of electricity, so you always have to get a battery with them. But the lights that are available now for video are really good. They were good before, but they're really good now. Another thing that has become more accessible, and I think it's probably mostly thanks to Leica, is the lenses that you ideally would be using for handheld cine type shooting are becoming more affordable, a lot more affordable. And the kind of lenses that Leica is selling, the manual cine lenses that are just so expensive to buy from most other companies, are something that you can afford now. And they have geared focus mechanisms, so you've got long focus pulls and declicked apertures so that you can change aperture silently on the go. All these things are really nice, and they're getting less expensive. And all the other things that you need, sliders and gimbals, they're all more affordable. Even field monitors have dropped in price. So if there's ever been a time that you've thought about getting some accessories to go with your camera to make it into a more usable video rig, now's the time. Now, a lot of the video that I'm going to be talking about tonight is stuff you do in your studio or your lab, and that's quite a different matter. Whether you're doing your video in the field or in the lab, one thing that you're going to use regardless is the tech that you're going to have to deploy to process the video. And there are tools that have been out for a while but are getting better and better and more accessible. One in particular is the field interpolation software that you can get in programs, Adobe's programs like Premiere Pro. I was using it just this afternoon. Not on one of the videos I'm going to be showing you, unfortunately. I didn't interpolate that. But that is where you can take jerky footage like I'm going to show you and make it into a really smooth cinematic footage by using a program that uses computational tools to fill in the gaps in the frames. So if you have two frames that are separated by too much time that would look jerky when you played them back, it will copy parts of the frame to where it runs smoothly. It's pretty sophisticated and very data intensive, but it's a software thing that drops in frames where they're missing, and it really allows you to get 60 or 120 frames per second kind of feel from 30 FPS video. Why that matters to us is that a lot of the things that we photograph in the field, like the things I'm getting ready to show you, move in twitchy bursts, really. They're kind of hard to predict. And if you're trying to track one of these things, as you'll see me do in a minute, if you can smooth that out, it makes a huge difference to the viewer. So being able to shoot at 30 frames per second and outputting 60 frames per second is a big difference. Yeah, and you don't need to spend a fortune on a high-speed camera. DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro both have that built in. I think DaVinci calls it optical flow. I think that's what it's called, and it's in the filters in Premiere Pro. There are other tools that you can buy as add-ons. I had not heard of a couple of these, a couple of AI-based interpolators like Twixter. Never heard of Twixter. It sounds like a dating website for thin people. And Butterflow, which actually sounds like a dating site for larger people, and Flow Frames. They're all very good names, I think, for interpolators. Interpolators don't play well with transparent parts. They don't do well with wings, for example, on dragonflies or insects that flick their legs quickly. I'm going to have to show you this first video because it shows lots of leg flicking. But anyway, the surreal kind of smooth effect is worth it if you've got a good interpolator. Another thing that is, it's been around for a while, but is getting more popular with third-party editors, is focus breathing correction. You know, when you rack the focus on a lens, when you change the focus, the angle of view changes in the lens. And that kind of subtly gives you this zooming in and zooming out feel. And cine lenses, as expensive as they are designed to make that almost unnoticeable. Not so much with camera lenses, which are designed for stills. So oftentimes we have a lot of this focus breathing. And the higher your magnification, the more obvious focus breathing becomes. And it looks like the whole frame is pulsing. Now, there are optical ways to get around this. One of them is to buy one of these fantastic cine lenses from Laowa, or spend 10 times as much and buy one from a cine camera company. But that's one way of doing it. Another way is just to use Premiere Pro or a DaVinci Resolve. They have breathing correction built in. They analyze the frames and they crop them and scale them so that they can digitally stabilize the image. So they're basically in real time, one frame at a time, resizing the picture to make up for the breathing. Pretty brilliant, actually. There are some plugins that you can buy that actually track the edges of the frame, and they rescale the images based on that. So it lets you use whatever camera you have now, whatever that may be, a DSLR or mirrorless, and it allows you to shoot video and rack focus without having to worry about that odd breathing effect. So another thing that is a subject of much discussion these days, and in my research over the last couple of days, I've read some really interesting comments and papers about it, but it's this whole focus stacking and video workflow. There are ways, and there are new technologies that I'm going to get into at the end of this discussion that use special lenses, special software, special computers even, to be able to do a focus stack on the fly so that you can actually gather more depth of field information. It's called extended depth of field, and actually gather those photographs in a linear collection to make up a video. So you can actually have extended depth of field video. Now that's different from using video to extract stills that you can then focus stack. We've all been doing that for some time. It's not an ideal situation. It's not nearly as good as what Klaus Galois is doing with high frame rate stills. But it's certainly another option for getting there. The idea of being able to shoot video with extended depth of field is a different matter altogether. That would be something to behold. And I'm actually going to, I hope, be able to show you a clip that I came across today that actually shows that this is already being done. And it's something to behold. It really is. So There are a couple of ways you can go about this combining stacking and video. One is to stack every frame in a time lapse and then run it together, like you might do with crystals or something. And you can combine the stacks in any software you want, either Xerine if you're smart or Helicon otherwise, and then assemble the outputs into a kind of pseudo video. You get sharp, deep focus, and it's usually used when you have a very simple move that you're trying to show. You're panning around an insect, or you're having a piece of video that's not going to run for minutes. It's going to run for a few seconds. It's very, very time intensive, and it's best for subjects that are like dead or very still, at least. Now, there's another kind of technology that I'm going to call focus sweep or hybrid focus sweep video, which is where focus is continually racked while you're recording video. Imagine you have a video camera, it's turned on, you're scanning your subject, but all the time you're changing focus. What this does, it gives the computer all of the data that it needs to extract slices of focus in every frame and blend them together to get the best focus you can for each frame in the video. It's still very much in the lab, but the way things are going these days, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see it popping out before too long. And there's some other really, really exciting stuff going on in video that I'm going to talk about in just a minute, but that falls in the experimental category. I tell you what, we're going to take a break to watch a video, because I made this video this weekend in 5 minutes with my cell phone. It's really just to kind of show you that it can be done, or it can't be done, depending on what you think when you see the video. But this is my bees video, and then after that we've got a crystal one. But let's start with the bees. This is right outside my back door. There's a plant out there, a big, I don't know what it is, some kind of plant, but it attracts bees. And here they are. are the most comical things. I just love watching those things buzz around. Anyway, that's what you can do, rubbishy though it was, with just a cell phone and no lights, no nothing. I just went out there and shot it to see what we could get. So you can get some decent footage, good enough to use. Of course, not the kind of stuff we're talking about doing with our cameras, and certainly nothing as fancy as using hybrid focus sweep video. But it's worth talking about it because these things, I think, are coming. Something else that's been around for a good long time, but are becoming a little bit more usable, I think, are the lookup tables, the LUTs, for color grading. It's just a way to make color grading a little bit easier. And obviously, in that video, there was no color grading. But what are the times that you might want to think about using video, and when do you want to stick with stills? Obviously, it should be pretty obvious. For still images, it's when you want to portray all the details of a specimen in its glory, maximum sharpness, large prints, fine focus stacking, where you want everything to be about perfect. That's a still image. That's not something you do with video. Video is when you want to show something behaving like it behaves. Moving, eating, fighting, whatever activities is up to. Anything that's process-based, or if you want to tell a time-based story, and you know I love storytelling, video is a great tool for storytelling. And there are ways that you can combine the two. You can have lots of still photography that is flavored with a little video, which is mostly, I think, the way I tend to use it. But now I'm going to talk to you briefly about some of the really cool projects that you can do without a whole lot of experience, without a whole lot of equipment. Stuff that is fairly easy to find, straightforward to shoot, but will yield pretty darn good results. And then I'll show you a couple more video clips as we go along. I obviously, let me hasten to add, I'm not a videographer. I'm not really even a photographer. I'm more of a photography teacher. But the whole idea of me shooting video to show other people it's not what I do. I do it for pleasure and for fun, and to record some of the amazing things that I see. And that's all I'm suggesting to you as well, is that you add it to your repertoire. You may become a videographer. It may become your thing. But for now, I'm just suggesting you do it because it's so much fun. Here are a couple of the video projects that I think are inspiring and a lot of fun. Insect behavior, actually cataloging something that insects do. In this case, it was flitting around gathering nectar, eating nectar, gathering pollen, which is what bees do. And that was 5 minutes of watching a bee do its thing. But they also they have all kinds of weird courtship rituals and fighting behaviors and eating behaviors. Have you ever tried to film a jumping spider eating its prey? They are endlessly entertaining if that kind of thing doesn't nauseate you. Ants are fantastic to watch, especially when they're tending to their aphids. If you find a plant covered in aphids in your garden, take your camera out and shoot the ants that are taking care of the aphids, because that's what they do. They farm the aphids to, well, I won't get into that because it really is disgusting and I haven't eaten my dinner yet. Plant phenomena, if you're more into plants, you can actually video seeds opening up in real time under the right conditions, the right seeds at the right time, but you can certainly do that. You can, if you have a microscope, you can actually video pollen tubes as they grow in the reproductive organs of the flower. It's a bit more complicated and takes a bit of setup and some time-lapse stuff, but it's certainly very doable. You can actually film the stoma on a leaf opening and closing. Did you know that? If you have too much magnification, it'll only appear to be opening and closing. But that's another story we'll talk about another time. But you can use time lapse for that as well, and actually watch these stomata open and close. Fluid and crystal physics is one of my favorite things to do. I am a big fan of actually filming crystals grow. It sounds like it would be a lot like filming grass growing, but it's not. It's a lot more interesting. In fact, the only other video that I have that I won't continue to talk over is this next one, and I'm going to show this to you. I have shown this before about a year ago, but it kind of sums up how I feel about crystal photography. So let's take a look at that. absolutely magnificent. I love watching that. I could watch that all day long. If that's something that appeals to you, not just videoing them, but actually making crystals and photographing them, come to our crystal art gathering we have every second Friday of the month, 2 o'clock in the afternoon here on YouTube. And it's a live gathering, a YouTube meeting, a Zoom meeting. So you get to talk to everybody and you can learn a lot about this stuff. Very, very enjoyable. So other things you can do with crystals and physics is using oil and water emulsions that will swirl around under polarized light. Amazing. I've done some of that, but not lately. Need to do more. You can also grow salt crystals or just about any kind of crystals along a piece of string to get a really dynamic appearance. And I'm going to show you a couple more of those little bits of footage in a little bit. Even just showing droplets evaporating, which was what that last part of that video was. That was a little tiny droplet of solution that was evaporating to leave the crystals as they formed, kind of as a fractal residue. Now, more typically, you would probably think about the kind of video you'd want to make as a macro photographer. You'd be thinking about living things. I'm going to see if I can't find a couple of the living things that I wanted to show you. I have so many clips, I got a bit greedy and I'm not going to be able to show them all, but I will show some of them. Let me find them for you. And while I rattle on, I'm going to just show these in the background. Easier than looking at me, I think. So let me open up the first. And these are kind of at random. Let me see. Yeah, the first one is just to put you off your dinner. If you've ever wondered how many microorganisms there are in a drop of your tap water, this is something that you could film in video. Let me see if we can find that button to press. This is just a little drop of pond water. It's not really tap water; it's pond water. That I just put it under the microscope, and that's the shocking result. There are millions of things swimming around in there. And it's another thing that I could watch all day long. You don't always get to watch the really exciting stuff. Sometimes it's just massive numbers of the ordinary stuff. This is a mixture of bacteria, protozoa, and probably some multicellular things will zip by from time to time. We don't have to watch that for too long because it really is pretty nasty looking. Let me see if I can find the rest of. Here they are. I picked these pretty much at random, and they're going to be different things just to demonstrate a couple of the points. And I'm going to speed through a lot of these clips so that you don't have to watch them in real time. This is one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorite things to do, is to take solutions that I'm videoing crystals forming in and put different solutions together and watch how they interface. In this case, it was the same solution, but I was amazed to see what happened as these two crystal groupings grew together. Now I'm going to speed it up because, life is short. Yeah, we'll double the speed and maybe turn the volume off. There we go. And just watch these things grow, and what happens when they meet is always fun to watch. The first part of that video I just showed of crystals, by the way, was another thing I like to do. I don't think many people do this, but I had some crystals that had well formed on a slide. They were stable, they weren't going anywhere. And I added a solution of a different chemical, and that solution of the different chemical dissolved the first set of crystals and then immediately formed that second set, which immediately changed. But this is so incredible to watch these blobs of crystal fuse together like a zipper. It's just one of the entertaining things that you can do with a camera that's capable of shooting video. Some of it is a lot more subtle, and obviously for this kind of stuff you do need a microscope or access to one. I'm not exactly sure what this stuff was, but I just loved the way the colors would change as the crystals dissolved and then reformed. This is one of my favorite groups of slides. It's much more subtle. It's nothing flashy. It happens gradually over time in different parts of the. There we go. You can see it a little more there. It's more something that is like performance art. I just let these things play on the big screen, and yeah, they're quite impressive. We can move it a little faster, and you can see all the weird remodeling that's going on as different compounds form, different colors, and so on. Nice stuff. Now I've got some. I think I've got some pretty ugly looking. Yeah, I do. I've got some pond scum creatures. Another great fun thing to shoot, because you never know what you're going to find. In this case, I found a worm, a nematode of some kind, and you can see its internal organs sloshing around inside its body here, and its intestine full of presumably the dirt that it's eating. They are endlessly entertaining to watch, and yeah, if you've never spent any time watching one of these things, it's mesmerizing. I spent 20 minutes filming and watching the wrong end of one of these, wondering why it was regurgitating all of its food. But I was watching its bottom end. I'm not an expert on nematodes, obviously, but I think they make for gripping images. Yeah. I don't think anything else happens other than this guy chowing down on piles of detritus. So we won't bother watching the rest of that. Let me see if I've got another one. And we've got some high-tech stuff to talk about in just a second. What is this? These were chosen because I either enjoyed making them, or there was something in there that I thought you might want to see. Let's see. Oh, I know what this is. Yes, this is a very dramatic saga of a diatom who going out for lunch, and yeah, I won't spoil the surprise. It's just a short video clip. I'll get to the zoomed in parts. This is the diatom, by the way. It doesn't look like one because I hadn't been focused on it, but now I am, and you can see it's quite an attractive little thing. These things cruise. They don't zip around like a lot of things. They move very slowly. So I'm going to a higher power, and there he is. So incredible to look at. These things are made of, their shell is made of glass, and they're tiny little unicellular organisms. And I'm not exactly sure what they eat, but I think this one was trying to eat a bacteria that was swimming faster than it in just a few minutes, and I'll show you that. And then something dramatic and spectacular happens at the end. We'll move forward a little further. So I went to higher power still, and I'm using an interference contrast method to try to make him a little bit sharper, but this is not a Bud Parrott microscope. This is my microscope. Still pretty amazing. So I guess it's on the next clip that yeah, he gets eaten is the end of the story, which is not going to be that exciting anymore. But yeah, so diatoms, and that's the kind of thing that if you're into this, that you can find everywhere. You don't have to go anywhere to find these. You just go out in the garden. If there's a pool of water, it's probably got diatoms in it, and yeah, they're tremendous fun to photograph and to video. And it doesn't really take, if you have a microscope or have access to one, of course, that's important. But a lot of the stuff we do, you don't need anything like that. You just need the stuff you've got. Now, other things that you can do if you have a microscope, is going through pond scum. You'll find things like hydra. Hydra is another protozoan that attaches itself to little bits of solid material in the bottom of the pond, and it's a stretchy thing with arms. It looks a lot like an octopus that's been stapled to a board. And watching them eat, yeah, I can do that all day long. And rotifers are another one. I don't know where the videos that I actually saved that had all these rotifers and hydra in them. I'll have to find them as I go. But diatoms that we just talked about, sometimes you can get really lucky and find these animals as they're dividing. Usually not. You're more likely to find them eating. But yeah, that literally there is an infinite, almost practically infinite selection, choice of things to photograph in the water. Just any water. Salt water, fresh water. Dirty water is great. Pond scum is the best. Physical and chemical reactions are fun to film. You can actually film rust forming in virtually real time. You can watch corrosion, especially if you're using chemicals other than water. Magnetic nanoparticles. You may have heard of the ferrofluid. Ferrofluid's a suspension of iron, very, very small iron particles in oil. I think it's oil. And when you move a magnet around underneath it, the stuff forms spikes. It's really strange to look at, but wonderful to video. And impossible to clean off your hands, your clothes, or your camera. You've seen soap bubbles, I'm sure. If you haven't, you should acquaint yourself with soap. It's a wonderful substance. But soap bubbles, in the right light, and photographed or filmed with a video camera, will show the most amazing range of colors and shapes as the detergent spans over the air bubbles. Wonderful, wonderful footage and lots of fun to do. Very easy, very inexpensive. I actually designed a clear acrylic pot that I would fill with soapy water, and it had a one-way valve and a tube that I put in my mouth, so I would blow bubbles into it when I needed more colors on the top. And until it started leaking backwards into my mouth, it was a great little gadget. Never got to sell one of those, though. So we're not going to go any further into the whole hybrid focus sweeping, even though I got some more information on it. There are too many other exciting things I want to talk about. Though I will hit the high points. People do ask me a lot, why can't I just shoot a video of this subject and then focus stack frames of the video? Well, you can, but as has been shown by Klaus and also by Graham in the UK, there are better ways of doing that. There are ways to get higher resolution, cleaner photographs using rapid, high frame rate stills with continuous light. You can use video to capture those stills. The problem is that there are several hurdles you have to overcome, which you don't necessarily have to overcome if you're shooting stills. Getting perfect alignment is one of them. You know, when you're shooting video, you tend to be shooting it for more than 1 second bursts. When you're shooting in 1 second bursts, it's a lot easier to keep your focus on a very tight rein, so that you're not getting alignment issues. When you're shooting video, it's much harder to do that. And even just lens breathing or a subject drifting, tiny vibrations, high magnification, all of these things will combine to make stacking the individual frames just about impossible a lot of the time. So in order to stack and blend those images together, they really need to be in excellent registration. They need to line up, and that's hard to do. It's hard to do with Klaus's technique. It's just about impossible with video. Lighting changes and motion, obviously, again, if you're using video, you tend to have these longer spans of data collection, during which time it's more likely that shadows and lighting will change. And when that happens, you get ghosting and blur. Nothing you can do about it. Also, the amount of data. Now, you're probably going to push back and say, well, you can't use more data than the static still frame stacking uses. Well, it's probably true, but you still need to be able to process huge numbers of images in a timely fashion, and the files are pretty big. So, you know, having the right kind of processor is important, and that goes also for your computation. You need to have a good computer to be able to put all this stuff together. And you really can't blend different parts of your video together. They have to be temporally coherent. They have the bits you're going to choose to put into your still need to be adjacent. You can't pick another part of the video, even if it's the same subject and very similar position, because of the fact that lighting and everything else will have changed, as well as registration. So there are a lot of reasons it's difficult to do, and there really aren't any ideal tools out there for doing it. So probably not going to see that. I really think that the high speed global shutter type approach to high resolution field focus stacking is going to make this whole discussion of using video as your input kind of beside the point. I don't think it's ever going to get to that stage, though some of the things I'm going to talk about in just a second may change that. There are some things out there that I think would be able to nail hybrid focus techniques, but they're also going to make everything else so much more fun and so much more approachable. We're not talking about any of the techniques we've talked about in the past, like NERF and other, what is it, neural radiance fields, something like that. It's a computational technique for increasing the depth of field. We're going to be talking about this extended depth of field. EDOF is going to be the main discussion from here on, because I think that this is what's going to change video in the future and make all of us more excited about doing it. Do you know that there are pieces of hardware that have been developed out there, that are being developed out there, that are going to catapult video into the stratosphere for macro photographers? It's going to be possible to actually decode full resolution video frames on the fly as you're shooting, and you'll be able to choose your frame rate and sync characteristics and focus movement and everything else. But there are now sensors being developed that are able to do stacking in the sensor. They're able to do the computational part in the sensor, as well as automatically detecting sharpness within a frame. I'm talking about doing this within the part of your camera that collects the data, not the part that processes it, so that you can actually in real time line up images, and you can do per pixel or per region blending using masks or whatever. And all of this is possible because of the fact that computing is getting so much faster. And we're going to talk a little bit about the hardware that's needed for some of this to go on with. But I dug fairly deep into a couple of pieces of technology that at first I thought were pretty much brand new, because I've asked people about them and I've thought about it. And the first piece of gear that came to mind was a lens called the Duramorph lens. I'm sure that few of you have probably heard of the Duramorph lens. It's the DML, they call it, and it's by Ishikawa out of Japan. This is a high-speed, very high-speed liquid lens. You know where else you find a liquid lens? In your eyeball. Only these things are much faster. They are bags of liquid within another liquid medium. It's complicated, but they work quite similarly to the way our own eyes work. As your muscles of vision contract in the eyeball, it flattens the lens out and allows you to focus further away. And this is actually happening in these lenses that are liquid filled, and this Dynamorph that I'm talking about was one of the first ones, and they're run by like a piezoelectric stack. That's not a pizza, that's it's a kind of motor, if you will, with no moving parts. It uses charge and the bendiness of metal, something like that, to make very, very fast, very fine adjustments. And by pushing on this bag of fluid, it's able to focus at absurdly fast rates, like on the order of a millisecond, and using something like a 500 cycles per second sweep. So I saw a video. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get in trouble for playing a video I don't have permission to play, but it was from this company, Ishikawa. What they had was a motor with a shaft that was pointed at the camera, and it had a group of, I think, 6 different colored flags at different depths coming off the shaft. The shaft was spinning. It was on a motor. And this camera, this Dynamorph lens on a high-speed camera, was filming it. And the output from the camera had all of the 6 flags, and the shaft is this long. It had all 6 of the flags as they were spinning around in sharp focus. Now, the depth of field in that magnification would have been enough to have the leading edge of the first flag in focus, and everything else would have been out of focus. But this lens was focusing back and forward so fast that it was essentially collecting focused stacked frames that were then being put together into a continuous video. And what really blew me away was this video was made 15 years ago. 15 years ago. So there are ways that we can capture extended depth of field information in real time and process it in the cameras that we're using. And I see this stuff coming along before you know it. There are going to be problems with it. You need a tremendous amount of light to do this at that kind of 1,000 frames per second video. But yeah, it's still very, very interesting. I watched videos. I spent too much of today watching cool videos from Japan. I watched one by Zhang, and I'll put the links in the show notes. But they were using a tunable liquid lens, like we were just talking about, that was basically focusing in and out on a sine wave pattern. And they were using a 500 frame per second high-speed camera. And they were able to adjust focus so fast, it appeared like magic. It's remarkable. I'll link the video, watch it. There are also things called electronically tunable lenses. Oh, geez, and this is the exciting part. And I was just getting ready to tell you about it. But these ETLs, electronically tunable lenses, are not quite as fast as the liquid lenses, but they're much more accessible and more affordable. And these are much more recent. I mean, as the paper I was reading this afternoon was published this year, and it was all about in-sensor computing. So computing the data coming into the sensor, in the sensor, before it even leaves, for rapid image focusing using one of these ETLs. Can you imagine? It would make having a global shutter seem like old hat. So these things are coming. There's no doubt about it. And being able to do almost instantaneous focus stacking on any group of frames in a shorter amount of time than it would take to shoot a regular frame, and be able to generate both video and still photographs with almost infinitely great depth of field. Yeah, that's exciting. And this stuff is absolutely coming along. And I think it's going to change the way we think about video. I have so much more I wanted to talk to you about. I don't talk fast enough, and yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, I'll try to put some of this stuff in next week's blog article if anybody's interested, and we can talk about it some on Saturday if anybody has an interest in that. But I think this stuff is real, and it's developing so fast. When a few years ago, my friend Mike and I opened a company, and we were looking at what we could do to develop focus stacking for very small subjects. And one of the things we talked about was high-speed data acquisition using some of these new technologies, but they just weren't available or affordable. I think they're going to be available and affordable, and I think it's going to change the way we look at macro photography in years to come. And getting a foot in the door by learning video shouldn't be a bad thing, and it's fun too. So go get yourself a decent lens that get a used cine lens if you want, or really it doesn't matter, any lens. If you don't have a cine lens, you just won't want to be changing the aperture as you're shooting. But other than that, you can use almost anything. Build a terrarium and stick your camera down in there, not actually physically in, but pointed into the terrarium, and start shooting the things that are crawling around in there. That'll be a good start. Or buy a petri dish and do it in that. So I'll put some links to some very basic stuff that you can add on to your existing system to be able to do this with little or no expense or effort. I have not even had a chance to say hello to folks yet, and in the last minus 13 seconds I will say hello to everybody, but especially Alistair, Amy, and Bud if he's here. Thank you for all you do. It's an annelid, says Jack. Jack, I will be getting in touch with you, I hope, this week. I'm sorry for the delay. Larry, good luck with your business this weekend. I'm glad you're doing it, not me. And the infamous macro rail of Harold Hall worked fine. All right. That is a relief. That is a relief. All because one number we programmed incorrectly. Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. And I enjoyed it. This was a change of pace. On Thursday, we're going to talk about taking a break. Not me, you, and and why it will help you become a better photographer. Until then, take care, stay safe, and be well. And I'll maybe even have the microphone fixed by then. Probably not, but maybe. Have a good day.